Loving can hurt. Loving can hurt sometimes, but it's the only thing that I know. When it gets hard, you know it gets hard sometimes. It is the only thing that makes us feel alive. We keep this love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, hearts are never broken, and time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone, waiting for me to come home. Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we are checking out Photograph by Ed Sheeran. The way he's playing it now, there's been a few kind of incarnations of this tune throughout his career. There's another kind of bar chordy kind of one which we might have a little look at later, and there's definitely, it's a nice song for beginners as well if you simplify the chords. But today we're looking at the way he's playing it now, which is in DADGAD tuning. So the first thing you want to get your head around is DADGAD tuning. So the two outside strings are tuned down to the note D. You probably want to use your fourth string, your open fourth string, as a reference to tune that lower string and the thinner string to the same pitch as that open D string, okay? Then you want to tune your B string, the second string, down to the note A. Again, you can use the open fifth string as a reference there. So you end up with D, A, D, G, A, D. Lovely, lovely tuning on acoustic guitar, and Ed's doing some really nice little things on this. Once you've got your head around the tuning, it's time to look at the chords. So the chords that we've got, first of all, is going to be a D chord, which just requires the first finger in the second fret of the third string. Okay, so open, 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 second fret, open, open. Now, the second chord in the verses, it's really nice, kind of B minor. It's got a fancier name if we analysed all of the harmony properly, but for all intents and purposes, it's a B minor chord, B minor 7. And for this, we're sliding the first finger up to the 7th fret on the third string, and third finger will play the 9th fret on the thicker string, and we mute the 5th string. So it'll be 9, mute, open, 7, open, open. Okay? 9, mute, open, 7, open, open. Then we go to the 5 chord, which is going to be second finger in the 7th fret, muting the 5th string, open, 6th fret. That's first finger playing the 6th fret, open, open. It's kind of an A9, I guess we should probably call it A add 9. And then we move that whole shape backwards 2 frets, so it'll be second finger in the 5th fret, mute, open, 4th, open, open. So that kind of our G chord. Okay, so we have D, then B minor, A, and G. And it's simplified chord names, but that's really what's going on. That's kind of the important stuff. Now he's playing it with a very heavy palm mute, but with these accents: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's where the accents, and the accents are really important because that's kind of what's driving the groove along. So just starting on that D chord, you want to just practice getting that mute there in a nice kind of place. You don't want it too muted, but you don't want too much ringing out, although feel free to experiment, especially if you're doing a cover. You want to try and find your own kind of your own stamp on it. So nice mute: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Have a bit of a play around. Can sound kind of nice if there's heavy mutes, some of the strings ringing out a bit. Okay, just have a little bit of a play around, but do try and work on that groove, because having the pulse really strong is quite important. Now, one thing that you do notice if you're watching him playing it live doing this is often on the first chord, he moves his first finger up to the 7th fret in preparation for the second chord, the 5 chord, the B minor. I think it's just to avoid the kind of the panic of having to do a sudden chord change, which is quite a big distance to move. It's very simple just to move that first finger up in advance. So you're kind of thinking this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can hear it's still adding to the same chord. It's not really changing much of the harmony at all. It's just changing the note that's doubled in the chord is what's going on, why it sounds so similar. But it gives you a good chance of getting up the neck there to play that second chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the second chord. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go to the A, 2, 3, 4 to the G. Now that little movement right at the end there, he seems to do that live, but it's definitely not on the record. So just, it's 2 bars of each chord in case you hadn't gathered that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and if you want to do that, but don't feel like you have to, okay? You notice there, moving my first finger up, I don't always do it exactly on beat 1. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to try and keep that accents even. I didn't manage to do that while I was counting it out before. But that would be step 1, is just working on that verse, being able to play your way through that and keep the accents going, particularly if you're going to sing it. You're going to need the accents and the chord movements real solid, because then you've got to start thinking about the singing and the delivery of that part as well. So it's well worth thinking about. Now, the pre-chorus, same chords again, just slightly different order. So the pre-chorus, we're starting on the 6th chord, the B minor, and then we go to the 4, then the 1, and then the 5. Okay, so the B minor to the G, to the D, and then to the A. Okay, and this is the same pattern still. We keep the love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our hearts are always closed and hearts are never broken. That's all of that stuff, yeah? Same pattern. Probably on the last chord, you want to just let it ring out a little bit in preparation for the big chorus coming up. That's, of course, only 1 bar on each chord, okay? So the intro and the choruses are 2 bars on each chord, but the little pre-chorus is just 1 bar on each chord. Into the chorus, 1, okay, the D, and pocket of the 5 chord, which is the A, so that's the 2nd fret in the 7th fret version. Up to the 6th chord, you don't have to be the 4 chord. So that's pretty much all of the chord sequences going on. So just to recap, the intro and the verses, 2 bars on each chord. It's the 1 chord, the 6th chord, the 5 chord, and the 4 chord, which is D, B minor, A, and G. In the pre-chorus, it's just 1 bar on each chord. It starts on the 6th chord, then goes to the 4, then the 1, and then the 5, which would be the B minor, the G, the D, and then the A. And then the chorus is going 1, 5, 6, 4, which is probably the most common chord sequence in pop music, which would be the D, A, B minor to G. Okay, let me just play that through one more time. So starting on the D, loving can D. Loving can be minor sometimes, but it's the A thing that I G. When it gets D, you know it gets B minor sometimes. It is the A thing that makes us feel a G. B minor, we keep this love in a G chord. D, we made these memories to an A, where our B minors never closing, G's are never broken, and D's forever frozen. A, so you can D me inside the pocket of your A chord, holding me closer till B minor meets you won't ever be a G, waiting for me to come D. Okay, so there I've tried to incorporate the funny chord names into the song, but I'm hoping that's kind of helpful for you to remember the order, because the chords are the same. It's really important that you get the order right. So that's pretty much that tune. If you're going to play it in this tuning, that is fairly solidly the way that he's playing it live. If you watch videos, you will sometimes see that he plays exactly the same thing with a capo or capo on at the 2nd fret. Now, when he's doing that, there's two things that are happening. One, sometimes he's detuned a tone, okay, probably for other songs in the set. So by putting the capo on, it actually sounds the same tuning as what we just heard then. But also, sometimes he sings it a little bit higher. I guess it depends on how his voice is feeling on any given day and what other songs he's got in his set and all of that sort of thing. So be aware of that. I've chosen to do it in this one because it's kind of easiest for me to attempt singing it. But, you know, you should definitely try it out. Maybe try putting the capo on there, the 2nd fret, and see how it fits with your voice would definitely be a good idea. When it comes to the riff now, because the riff is obviously a nice part of this tune, there's lots of different ways of approaching it. He tends to, from my limited experience watching YouTube videos of him playing it live, he seems to be using a looper pedal to play the initial riff and then jamming over the top of the loop pedal. But it definitely works really nicely being able to do it. It's not particularly difficult. It's not easy either. If you've got a looper, he seems to play it when he's doing the loop. He seems to loop that, which is the open thinner string, 4th fret on the 2nd string, and then back to the open, then 2nd fret on the G string, the 3rd string, flicking it off to the open, and using 3rd finger on the 4th fret of the 4th string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. It's interesting here to note that he's not playing on beats 1 and 3, which is probably where we're going to put the bass notes, because the melody stays the same, but the riff changes. So if you're playing it with a looper pedal, the thing to remember is that you're going to tap your foot on beat 1, even though you're not going to play on it. So you tap your foot there, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and click. Again, you'd click where the beat is. That's really important. If I'm playing this riff as part of an arrangement where I'm going to be adding the bass notes of the chords in as well, I tend to, instead of using the flick off that Ed uses for making a loop, I tend to use the open B string, open G string, and then 4th fret on the 4th string. So you get the riff going, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so open thinner string, 4th fret on the 2nd string, open B string, open G string, 4th fret on the 4th string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, and on beats 1 and 3 you want to play the bass notes of the chords, which will be starting off with the D, then it'll be the B, which is the 2nd fret of the 5th string, then open A, which is the A, open A string, open 5th string, and then G, because of the tuning, will be the 5th fret of the thickest string, on the 6th string. And when you incorporate that, you want to be playing that bass note, like I said, on beats 1 and 3. So really slowly, bass and bass, open, 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and bass. Second bass note, sometimes I'm missing out, and sometimes I'm just playing a little quieter as well. I think it sounds nice to be not as dominant as the first one, for sure. But as far as the fingering goes, you really want to try and find what feels comfortable for you. I keep changing my mind about what I like. Particularly for the 2nd chord, if you're going to hold the bass note, be using my little finger probably for both of those. Might use my 3rd finger for the note on the 4th string, but more likely I'm going to use my little finger. On the open A, I tend to use my 2nd and 3rd fingers. 3rd finger playing the note on the 2nd string, and 2nd finger playing the note on the 4th string, and then this one maybe using your 3rd finger on the note G. It's funny, it's harder now, I have to think about it, but using second finger. And then I usually, the last strum, I'm lifting that, not leaving the 4th fret on the 4th string. Just sounds a little bit richer. That one sounds like it's got a little bit too much tension in it for me for the little pause. But definitely with these kind of things, it's slow and careful practice. It's what I've had to do while I've just been working out this arrangement this morning. Literally just playing through, going. Literally at that speed quite a lot, just to try and get my fingers under it. It's still, they're not completely kind of locked into an automation thing. I'm still having to think quite a lot, but a little bit of practice, that thing becomes automatic and you don't have to think about it so much. And it's a lovely, lovely little riff, lovely way to play it. There are many ways of playing this tune, as I've mentioned a couple of times. So I think it's a really, really kind of good thing for you to explore these kind of things, explore the chords, explore the rhythms that you're using, how much palm mute are you doing, what way you want to play the riff. Maybe you find another way of playing the riff and those bass notes together. Maybe you don't play the bass notes. There's so many different ways of approaching it, and I think that's one of the great things about these kind of tunes. And one of the things that Ed Sheeran's brought to the party is using loopers and playing as a solo performance. You know, the guy plays arenas by himself. That's to be massively respected. That's a very, very cool thing, and it's something that we should all aspire to, being confident enough with our ability to be able to deliver the whole thing on our own. You know, I think that's a pretty big deal. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoy playing this tune. If I get enough requests, I'll do the early version as well, which is kind of more, it's kind of easier to be honest, but I think this is the one that he's using now, and I think this one sounds best. I really like this arrangement. It's lovely using the DADGAD tuning, and I hope you've really enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you dig what I do, and remember there's thousands of free lessons over on JustinGuitar.com, so do go and check it out. I'll see you for more very soon. You take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.